So this video playlist is going to start looking at circles, everything to do with circles, so names of parts, definitions, circumference and area, and then we can combine it together and look at things like compound shapes and areas and things like that. So first of all, we're going to just look at some interactive explanations of parts of a circle. And now we're going to look at some key definitions. So first of all, you might actually want to know what a circle is. So can you think of what a definition might be? So I have one here. So a 2D shape whose boundary consists of points equidistant, which is just a fancy way of saying equal distant from a fixed point O. So that's going to form part of our definition here. So the circle, which is a 2D shape, you can read that description as it is. The center is obviously the middle of a circle, but we obviously use the word center, denoted by O. The radius, plural radii, is just the distance from the center to the circumference. The diameter is the distance from one end to the other, and it has to go through the center. So for example, I can't draw a line that just touches the circumference here and here. That has a name, which is going to be on the definitions here. The circumference is the perimeter, or the distance of the outside around the circle. So in this case, it would be the length of this line there. An arc is just, for example, shown here, AC is an arc, CB is an arc, AB is also an arc. A semicircle is half a circle, and then we've got area. The general definition of area doesn't just apply to circles but all shapes, is the space inside a 2D shape. So let's just consolidate some of these explanations. So when we're talking about a radius, which of these diagrams actually show the radius? So I'm going to go through these one by one. So we can see we're going from one part of the circumference to the other. This is not the radius, so we're going to say this is false, that's just a chord. This goes from the center to the circumference, so this is the radius. This goes from the center and it just stops randomly. That's not the radius. This actually consists of two radius or radii. So this is kind of a mixed answer. It's technically, it shows not just a radius, but two separate ones. This one goes well beyond the shape. You could argue that that is the radius there up to there, but it kind of extends outward. So we're going to say no. This one I'm going to put a maybe. Technically, you could argue this. Now this is the diameter, it's not the radius. Although it does consist of two radii in opposite directions, you wouldn't normally use that description. So we're going to say no. Okay, now we've looked at those. Which of these show arcs? So some of these are not amazingly well drawn, but you can see question 1 is an arc. Question 2, now this is a semicircular arc, so that's correct. This is a major arc. This is the circumference, so we're going to say no to this one because the whole thing together is a circumference. This is showing a sector, so we're going to say no. Although there is an arc here, it's not what's been highlighted, and this is obviously not an arc, it's just a tangent. So first of all, you might know what a line that goes from the center to the end of a circle or the circumference is called. So that starts with R, it's going to be the radius. The plural is radii, that's going to come up in the definitions. A line that goes touches the circumference at 2 points and goes through the center is the diameter, and you can probably spot the link between radius and diameter. So two lots of the radius will make up the diameter because it's basically two radii attached together. The purple line you may not have come across in Key Stage 3. That's this line that touches a circle at a single point. That's called a tangent. Now this one's a bit different, this green line. It looks like it could be the diameter, but actually it's just touching this circumference at 2 different points, but it's not necessarily going through the center of the circle. This starts with C, And this is the chord, an example of a chord. This pink line here forms like an arc shape. That's because it's called an arc. Now, if the chord goes through the center, then yes, it is actually the diameter. So the diameter is just a special case of the chord that happens to go through the center of the circle. Otherwise, a chord just touches the circumference at two places. Now, the pink line here at the moment is a minor arc, and then it gets to here where it's like halfway along the circle, and then now it's become a major arc. Major, minor, major, minor. You can probably spot why, because it's going to be going around beyond the center. The second types of definitions you need to know are these ones here. So that green line you know is called a chord. The orange bit though, the actual shaded in bit, is called a segment. So this is called a minor segment. This is called a major segment. Minor is the orange bit. The white bit here is the major segment. And now it's swapped over. The white bit's the minor segment. The orange bit is the major segment. And if we were to look at, for example, something that looks like a pizza slice, that is called a sector. If it goes more than halfway, it's a major sector. Less than halfway, for example, that's less. This is now a minor sector. The white bit is the major sector. The green bit is the minor sector. Now it's the other way around. The white bit is the minor sector. The green bit is the major sector. You're not really going to come across segments very much in general. You may just be asked to recognize those. And sectors, you will come across a little bit throughout Key Stage 3 and a lot more in Key Stage 4.